यू आर लाइव, सो अब मेरे ख्याल से दिखेगा। अटेंडेंस जो है हाँ, नहीं आपका तो दिख रहा है मेरे को यहाँ पे कि प्रमोद कुमार चांद, फिर एक जनार्दन पुजाली। रिफ्रेश या तो एक बार करिए, रिफ्रेश अपडेट या रिफ्रेश कुछ वैसा है क्या? हाँ हाँ सर, एक बार आप वो करिए ना। हेलो,
Hi Manoj, can you hear me? Hello. Hello.
या हाय।
Yeah, I'm not able to hear you. Can you hear me? Manoj, can you hear me? Hello.
Hi, Mr. Josh. How are you?
I'm fine, Ramesh. Hi. Good to see you.
Good. My pleasure.
Can you hear me
So we are
now?
just yes, we can hear you loud.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
we are
Perfect.
waiting our chairman to join. He's joining in 1 second, and then we'll start.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm ready here.
Hi, good afternoon and Ramadan Kareem to all of you. There is some technical issues. Our chairman is not able to join. We are trying, with a different link. So welcome to the second webinar of ICAI Khaimah chapter. I hope you and all your loved ones are safe. May I request our chairman, CA Manu Mehra, I sent a link to your WhatsApp. Can you click and join there? Manu sir, can you hear me? Hello. Manu sir, you are already in the live room.
Great.
I invite you to for a welcome address, but we
Okay.
can't see you. I think your video is off.
Can you see me now?
Yeah. Yes. Perfect.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of ICAI RAC chapter, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this webinar on blockchain. I hope all our members are safe and adhering to the safety guideline of the relevant authorities. Blockchain is considered to be the fourth industrial revolution and a hot topic. It has been a subject to numerous studies in various fields. The UAE government considered blockchain as a foundation stone for improving productivity and strongly supports blockchain technology with an aim to handle at least 50% of federal government transactions over the blockchain platform. As a part of this vision, the Global Blockchain Council was established to explore, discuss current and future applications. We had one seminar about blockchain basics in January. Today's session will focus about the use case of the blockchain platform. And to speak about it, we have the subject expert, Mr. Joss Matthew and Mr. Manoj Joseph from DLT Ledgers. I would like to thank our regular sponsors, Commercial Bank of Dubai, RAC Ceramics, UTICO, Lulu, Deloitte, Creston Menon, and Bank of Baroda. Once again, I welcome all of you to this webinar. I hope you will enjoy the session. Hello?
Yeah, is the poll visible?
Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Ramesh, I can hear you, but I'm getting messages that I was not audible. Is that correct?
You were audible, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm handing it over to you now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've just run a small poll. So as you said, this is a follow-up session which was conducted on 15th Jan by CA Rajiv Hira. So just to refresh the memory, I have run a small poll and request our audience to click the right answer to see where we are actually, whether we still remember the basics or we need more focus on basic. So based on the poll result, our speaker will take the session accordingly. So I can see some answers already. We'll end the poll in 1 minute. Yeah, so the first question was, what is a blockchain? 81% answered correct. It is a distributed immutable ledger on a P2P network. I think I'm getting some issues with the poll. So may I request our speakers, uh, uh, Mr. Josh Matthew and Manoj Joseph, to take over. Before that, I'll give a brief background about them. So they are from DLT Ledgers. DLT Ledger is a proprietary trade platform underpinned by blockchain technology that facilitates cross-border trade digitization and execution amongst other industry use case, including supplier financing, SME financing, and trade process digitization for banks. DLT Ledger is headquartered out of Singapore. Their first transaction went live in early 2018, and today over $3 billion worth of live trade finance transactions has been executed through their platform, involving 400 plus traders, 65 plus banks, and other partners. Let me introduce our first speaker, Mr. Josh Matthew, who is Managing Director of Mina DLT Ledgers. Mr. Josh Matthew has experience over 20 plus years in cross-border trading in multiple geographies and managing operations in the region. With a techno-functional exposure of 5 years, Josh drives engagements with large corporates, commercial traders, trading houses, banks and FIs, logistic companies, etc., and is responsible for defining outcomes that lean towards business agility and operational efficiencies. Our second speaker is Mr. Manoj Joseph, who is Client Director of DLT Ledgers in MENA. He also have similar experience of 20 years of building and executing go-to-market, route-to-market, and currently working closely with international trading firms, large corporates, supply chain firms, and banks in their digitization journey. So we have attendance of close to 48 members today. During the presentation, the members can post their doubts using the chat box. The speaker will answer all your questions once the presentation is over. You can also raise your hand. We'll try to take you live, so that your queries are resolved. Thank you so much for joining. I request our speakers, Mr. Josh Matthew and Manoj Joseph, to take over. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Manoj, over to you.
Manoj, your audio is off, I think. Manoj, we are not able to hear you.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible now.
Okay,
Yeah.
I had to just refresh it. Sorry, guys. So welcome to this webinar, and thank you, Mr. Ramesh and the association for giving us the time slot today. So as Mr. Ramesh has already introduced us, but I will just give a brief about me. Like, I'm Manoj Joseph, and I'm part of the DLT Ledgers MENA region. And previously, I was with IoT platform company, wherein in 2016 I came across this blockchain. Because previously, before that, I always heard about Bitcoin. And attending the Future Blockchain Summit and AI Everything as a delegate, I got a more clear vision, the vision of, as Manu sir said, the vision of UAE government and the way blockchain is getting popular across the world. So my interest started, and I became part of DLT Ledgers. And to start with, I started off in 1999 as to answer people's query on why internet. So that is all about me. So today, what we are trying to, the topic is about blockchain now, and we'll be focusing on the private permission blockchain. So first is that blockchain is not cryptocurrency. So I can see from the polls that a lot of all the attendees are aligned to that stuff. So I will just quickly start off and on the next slide. So the question is why blockchain is the question going across. So I just want to have touch base on internet, right? So internet, if you see, was the World Wide Web was developed by Mr. Tim to designed to move information peer to peer, right? So it was all about Internet of Information. So we consume internet, and we day to day we consume internet, and the big names or the players like PayPal, Zoom, Facebook, Yahoo, and Uber are the people who are controlling our data, right? And as you see on the screen, that data is the future. So now, along with all the cost benefits, what internet has brought us, like cost of searching, collaborating, communication, and so on. The downside is that internet has exposed us to a lot of other negative aspects for which the internet was not meant to be, like fake news, information without our consent. The information is around there. And if you see that I'm an active internet user from so many years now, since 1999, my data cost, the entire cost for my data is just $5. So you pay $5, and with an email address, you can get most of the details. What is you can see on the website. I'm not promoting it, but I'm just trying to showcase that this is the vulnerability what the internet today we are in, where everything is exposed and on a personal front. Coming to the organization or the enterprise side, the organizations worldwide are trying to implement and design internal efficiency, right, to overcome the functional barriers. So what's happening is that we are the organized enterprises. What we have seen over years now is that enterprises are adopting for an internal efficiency now, which is good, but again, it is something which piles up a bunch of papers on your desk, right? And late working and all the stuff, because what we see is that there is a need for having an inter-enterprise approach, wherein a supplier, raw material supplier, up to a customer, all the documentation, if it is been digitized, right? The flow is digitized, then the efficiency and the real use of internet to scale up for an enterprise is what raises a need for a technology like a blockchain. And on a lighter note, like digital transformation, we have been hearing since many years now. So COVID-19 has showed that us to work from home, and it's really making people think about how to digitize it on an external, to bring in the external parties to perform certain tasks. So the enterprise approach, what we are seeing is that of digitizing flow of documents, flow of contracts, flow of money, and flow of goods on a network, right, which is trusted, which is permissioned, right, by all the members in the network to execute certain tasks to get the efficiency. So this is why there is a need coming up from the enterprise side as well as on a personal side for a technology like blockchain. So I'll just move ahead with, as you are aware already, right, about blockchain. So I'll just touch base on a lighter note. Like, so blockchain was first in the public domain when one Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto released the white paper on peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Like I mentioned, internet was all about sharing of information peer-to-peer. There was a company which was formed, eCash, which tried to do a peer-to-peer transfer, but it was not successful in 2005 or so. So in 2008, Satoshi came up with this white paper, and Bitcoin was transacted by developing a DApp, that is a decentralized application. So currently what we use is a application which has a network as a central server, which is hosted by the application owners of the application. So DApp is a decentralized app which helps to transact peer-to-peer on a node. So every computer or every device becomes a node, and it can be transacted. So that is called an application layer. So the entire applications are built using certain existing programming languages, decentralized app. So one of the classic example of a decentralized app, which is very much popular and it's growing, is a Bitcoin, but it's on a public blockchain. So over a period, by 2015, 14-15, the blockchain was evolving, and certain companies has come forward and created what we see today as consortium blockchains, semi-private blockchains, which is something the bank as governments use, right? Public blockchains and private blockchains. So this we call it as a blockchain layer, right? And this blockchain layer, the developer tools are Ethereum and R3 are a few of them, and many more will be coming up. So this is used to create this DApp and to create the network, the blockchain networks, and it's all predominantly done on internet layer. So TCP/IP and file protocols and network protocols. That is the reason I wanted to say start with the internet. So because internet is required for a blockchain to work, and everything is built on the internet protocols and layers. So as I mentioned, like first internet age was internet of information, right, where it was World Wide Web. right? So from World Wide Web, we are moving towards the World Wide Ledger. As I see in the polls, like every one of the polls attended, everyone agrees to the concept of distributed ledger, immutable distributed ledger on a P2P network. So blockchain is more is about a distributed ledger. So it is towards blockchain is distributed ledger, and distributed ledger is part of blockchain network. So basically, there is a central there is no need of a centralized server or a clearing house or a mediatory third mediatory to come into a transaction between two people, two businesses in the world. So what can blockchain do is a big debate, and which needs an answer is like blockchain can uh, create any record of anything which has a value. So a birth certificate, marriage certificate, title of ownership, and any thing which has a value and which can be transacted without an intermediary, without a third person or a third centralized server. Blockchain use cases can be built. It is a very effective, blockchain is a very effective tool for tracking and trace and track and all. Like in my previous assignment, IoT, Internet of Things, blockchain was playing an essential role, as well as in AI, artificial intelligence. Also, blockchain plays a major role. So the block is linked to different blocks are linked. So when a uh, activity is mutually consented, transaction is consented, it becomes a block, an immutable block with a timestamp, and this block is connected to the preceding blocks before and after. So it becomes a chain. That's why it's coined as a blockchain. So how does this help? Like it helps in improves auditability, right? Records are real time, so it helps to bring trust. The blockchain is majorly about the word trust. It's called a trust protocol, and it reduces error and invalid transactions and all. So the time efficiency it brings in. So now we will specifically talk about on this slide. We talk about the private blockchain features. So as we saw in our previous slide, that raw material suppliers to a customer, as well as from a customer to a reverse logistics back, right? Currently, what we are working on is the organizations are working on is a silo intranet, right? Where there is efficiency internally, but not able to get efficiency, get the supply chain efficient. So distributed ledger comes in, and wherein through a distributed ledger and use case of blockchain, we can create a decentralized network wherein all the participants have full access on a real time the ledger, and the ledger is updated on a real time. Then comes the smart contracts. So so in this age, what we do is when we get into a contract, it is before it was handwritten, now it is typed in Word and Excel, Word and or such document, or such platform, or such processing softwares. And again, the printout is taken, and then we have to sign it off to agree. But with smart contracts, every contract can be programmed, as we call it, a dry code. And each contract can be self-executed at a certain time, and it can be authenticated on a real, it can be consented on a real time with all the parties involved in the smart contract. So that brings us to consensus. So consensus is one of the key feature of a blockchain network, right? Wherein all the members agree to validate the record in a real time. So whether it is in a normal sense, a normal case scenario, it is a PO or a PI or anything which goes through a email, and the confirmation comes from an email. You have to print out and keep a bunch of papers for your records. Here it is on a real time the consensus is done. So once the consensus is done on a document or a particular thing, we can hash it. So what is a hash? Hash is something is about cryptography. So you put a hash. So like you can see the screen on the screen. Like you put triple 000, the hash function throws up a 32-bit or 64-bit hash, which is again which is once it is generated, it cannot be reversed. So that brings us to the aspect of immutable records. So once the hash is done, the record becomes immutable, and if anyone tries to change it, first of all, it cannot be changed. And if they try to change, then the person or the person who is doing the activity will be thrown out of the network, private network, straight away. And the last and the one of the beautiful part of blockchain is that it's every transaction is recorded with a timestamp, which helps for audit trail, which again brings in a element of trust. The trust protocol is established. So this is about the private blockchain and the features, right? And we'll just go through what's now, like Manu sir said, one of the governments in the world which is taking serious note about blockchain is UAE government. So in 2018, the UAE government launched Emirates blockchain strategy, and it was focused on majorly on development of government efficiency as well as of residents and citizens. It is under the supervision of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid. And recently, if you have seen, like 3 days back, it was in the news, like what is the going forward for UAE government on the recovery, COVID recovery, post-COVID recovery. His Highness Sultan Al Mansouri has openly asked private sectors to prepare for the digital economy. So this is the way forward in UAE. On that part only, if you see, UAE Bank has opened up, started using Ripple blockchain technology to do a remittance. So this is how the blockchain is started getting traction in UAE. This digital Silk Route is one of the initiatives done by Dubai Chamber of Commerce and DP World and Dubai Customs to go on live in 2020. And Dubai government is going to be paperless on 12/12/2021, and they already achieved 64.5 percentage, right? Paperless consumption by paper consumption has gone down to date. So this, then the right side, on the left side, if you see, so this is the ecosystem currently in UAE, where almost 40 UAE government entities and blockchain companies, 120 companies and 200 plus blockchain initiatives are, as we speak, live or in POC or in pilot with each department. So this is why blockchain is quite important, because in this region and UAE particularly, because it's a drive by the government to get the entire get the efficiency and use cases of blockchain to be more adaptive in this region. So this is about we wanted to just I wanted to just touch base, because you guys already attended a blockchain session, and I can see the polls. So this is all about the blockchain and blockchain now from my side. And and then going so taking this webinar forward, we will be talking about the enterprise grade blockchain solution, right? And how DLT Ledgers, the Singapore-based, our Singapore-based company, is contributing to it. And it will, and Jose Matthew, who is joining from Singapore, who heads this region as well, will take you through the rest of the session. Jose, over to you.
Thank you, Manoj. So as we had planned, it's a presentation which is three parts. The first part was about the technology and how enterprise-grade private permission blockchain is getting deployed. And today, the second part, I would like to talk to you about how DLT Ledgers as a company has successfully implemented these with a lot of use cases which are enterprise-driven, and how we have successfully deployed it in various geographies. And then I'll take you through a quick demo on the production live system, so you get to have a view on what exactly do we mean by the applications that could be enabled using blockchain technology, and then we'll take your questions. Yeah, so I think the video affects the audio, so I will switch off my video, and then I will run the audio for a while. Yeah. So as you can see, DLT Ledgers, let me give you a brief overview of what DLT Ledgers is. DLT Ledgers is a enterprise software company which is based out of Singapore. We are born in blockchain, so to say. We had a commercial launch in the year 2017. Seen in the introduction that a blockchain which is private permissioned for the enterprises is what is relevant, because all organizations are looking at most of the businesses have their own set of privacy and security that is a concern. So we can't go on a public blockchain. We have to, when it comes to large enterprises or corporates or businesses, we have to keep it private and permissioned. So what we have created is on top of the Hyperledger fabric layer, we have created applications which are on a private permission basis. For that, we have 5 IPs registered, what we call as smart con, which is the business or the smart contract execution, which is the business logic that governs the entire flow. Smart code is the coding that we have done for the different roles. We call it a certificate of entitlement in blockchain. In smart access is the user access that is provided on a permission basis by the subscriber to the platform. SmartFin is more like a marketplace where you can put your financing request and access as a single platform, accessing multiple banks and financial institutions. And BC Link is a blockchain link, which is basically a connector or integration layer, which helps you to integrate with your core ERP systems or CRM system or a contract management system or your SAPs and the Oracles. Or the Microsoft Dynamics, yeah. So that's the 5 key IPs that we have registered. So as for your understanding, what we have done is on the Hyperledger fabric, we have created application layer, which is commercially consumed by large enterprises and corporates. Now, so in a short span of just about 2.5 years, we have been able to get about 410 plus customers subscribed onto this platform, which is a post-trade execution platform and production live. And we have a spectrum ranging from the large enterprises to the mid-size to the small and medium enterprises. We have financed through this platform about 3 billion worth of trade, which the information has come through the 65 plus banks who are globally on our platform as business partners. Because we can't access the respective large enterprises, landscape. It is when we are commissioning it or deploying it into any company, then it is their private permission blockchain. So in terms of the volumes, we have come to know through the banks that these volumes have been transacted on the platform. We are about 62 plus employees. Our R&D is based out of Trivandrum in Kerala. And we have an office in India, which is Mumbai, which is our sales office. We have an office in UAE, which is driven by Manoj and team. We have an office in Japan. We have opened up in New Zealand. And of course, Singapore is our headquarters. Now, one of the key things that you can see is that we are agnostic to the industry. We can be in any of those industries. It could be agri commodities, it could be metals and mines, petrochemicals, energy, coal, merchandise trade. Any of these industries, solution can be deployed. So we have built it in a way that it is definitely scalable. One of the key things that we have created is about 100 plus templates, which are the best in class contract creations across multiple industries. And as I demo it to you, you'll be able to understand it much better. So the core of DLT Ledgers design philosophy is that we are integrating all the 4 flows, which Manoj was explaining early. We are digitizing them and we are integrating them. If you look at a bank, they're more keen on the flow of documents and flow of money, because that's all what documentary credit is all about. They're not concerned about the performance of the contract. But that is not the case in a trade or a transaction. We have to integrate all the 4 flows, which is the flow of documents, the flow of contract, the flow of money, and the flow of goods. So all of this has both internal participants within the organization and the external participants. So at the core of our design philosophy was that we have to get all of it integrated, and that is what is mattering to the large enterprises. How do we do that? We wanted to use world's leading technologies like blockchain, AI, machine learning, and get an innovative solution. And innovation, as we look at it, is not where we should, not simply because we can. So the idea was that we define it in a way that the core modules are prepared for quick EC deployment. So you can see that there are 16 different modules, core modules that are defined. These are the signature element which is intrinsic to the platform. That is to ensure that the customers are getting the solution deployed fairly quickly, and it helps us to create a powerful client proposition. It's basically the design thinking, which is very important, and it's been part of our DNA. And if you can see that that's been a key differentiator in every point of our product development processes. So you can see smart contract engine, you can see the network engine, the operations engine, digital file cabinet. Losing control over this. Sorry. Hello. Yeah, sorry for that. So these are the 16 modules that we have created. It has multiple things. So as a specific enterprise needs a solution, what we do is we bring in some of these modules and quickly connect them together, configure it, as you call it, and then build up the solution for them to have a better customer experience. Okay, so with that, that's a quick introduction to what we're doing and why it matters. So let me quickly get into a demo of the system. Do I share? Oh, sorry. I hope you're able to see my screen. So this is the login page of the DLT Ledgers platform. So I log in as trader. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
perfect. Yeah. All right. So this is the landing page. So once you log in, there are as a customer, when you log in, this is the view of trade operations guy who just logs in as a super admin. You can first create your users, which are the internal participants. You can create user groups if there is permissioned access that has to be given internally. So in a back office within a large enterprise, you will have the trade operations team, the trade finance team, and you will have the shipping and the logistics team, and each person has to be assigned a task based on the deal that is confirmed or the transaction that is confirmed. So you can create user groups with two-factor authentication, and you can create users within these are internal participants, while you can create what we call as business partners, who are external participants to the transaction. So what we are trying to do here is to create most of the systems, as Manoj was highlighting to you, is internal focus, which is predominantly for optimizing and standardizing the internal flows. But here is a platform which helps you to connect with the external parties of a transaction and linking seamlessly with your core business systems or internal systems that is already in place. So the full value of digitization or the full efficiency is derived when you connect the internal with the external. So here the basic unit for a transaction is considered to be the atomic unit is a contract, and that contract is getting, as I was mentioning to you, it is being executed as a smart contract on the blockchain platform. So let me take you through how we initiate the blockchain operation. So once you've set your business users, business partners, which is the external participants, and users, which is the internal participants.
double voice आ रहा है.
Double voice.
पहले वाला तो अच्छा मैं देखता हूँ.
Somebody has
हो सकता है वो भी चालू हो. Okay.
All right. Shall I continue?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So if there is a trader or the sales team, they can create a deal here, and they can fill in and assign that deal. So a salesperson has closed the deal, and he can assign it to one of the trade operations team, which is the back office. So we are a post-trade execution platform, which means the deal has been finalized by the sales team, and it is sent to the back office of the organization for processing. The back office consists of the trade operations team, the trade finance team, and the shipping and the logistics team. So this work is now confirmed, as a deal is confirmed, and it has been assigned to the back office. Now the whole details can be filled up based on the terms that is agreed upon, and you can review and submit it. For easy understanding, I have just created some trades here. So it can also be initiated from here directly, because the sales guy do not want to access this platform, and he just writes in or sends an email. You can still, the trade operations guy can come and initiate a trade right from here. Now, when you initiate a trade, and then you have to manage that trade. But before that, let me give you a quick view on the trigger table, which is templatization of the contracts. So if you are a company that deals in coal, you are a company that deals in any agri-commodities, sugar, pulses, veneer, wheat, cotton, rice, or even companies like companies who are engaged in tire, chemical, steel, all of these. We have about 100 plus templates that have been created. These are all standard specifications that is covering a contract, and then from here directly you can create the contract. So if you want, you can directly create a contract. You can put in the smart contract details. So as I was mentioning, blockchain is about smart contract execution. So take smart contract as a business logic that is created to execute the post trade within the platform. So you will have a sales and purchases contract that is usually entered in between the buyer and the seller. But here, that logic, to capture the logic in the flow, what we're doing is the key elements and aspects of that particular sales and purchase contract will be brought in as a smart contract, so that there is no discrepancy between the sales and purchase contract which you have created physically or otherwise, and then moving to here for execution of the different terms that you're agreed upon. So what you do is, you as an initial step, you create your smart contract details, create the product details. These are different tabs: the business partner, the shipment details, the operations, the financial instruments. Basically, what is the type of instrument that you will use? Maybe it is a DADP, it could be a LC, which means a documentary transaction or open account transaction, and store the respective documents in a digital file cabinet. Let me take you through the managing of a contract for easy understanding. So as I mentioned, the contract trigger table will be a templatization of your contract goods that you're trading in. And that can be helpful in creating and executing the smart contract autonomously into the future, because it's an evolving process. So here, for example, I have a cotton trade. So in any contract, there will be a buy and a sell. So that is what we call as a master contract. So in a buy contract, I can have I can buy from 10 people and I can sell to one guy, or I can buy from one person and then break that bulk into 10 people. So you have the facility to create more contracts. For easy understanding, I've just kept one buy and one sell. So let me get into a sell contract and then quickly show you the demo. So just to give you an understanding of how we had created it. So if you come to the edit mode, you can understand the smart contract details, the contract name, all these things have been captured here now. All of these has been clearly captured in terms of, basically what are the terms governing the transaction. It involves the payment terms, the insurance terms, the mode of shipment, shipment days, port of destination, the origin country. All of it is captured here. And then we have what we call as the associated blockchain documents, which is bill of lading, certificate of origin, or finance documents, weight and quality, whatever. And then it also provides you, in the product details, what is the product? It's a cotton grade. What is the tonnage? What is the price? And then we go to the different business partners. There's a buyer and a seller. I have just kept it very simple for your understanding on the different banks that is involved, both from the buyer and the seller side. Now, when we get into the operations, now let me show you something very interesting. Here we have now created the different roles. So that's a certificate of entitlement, which basically means that a banker can do only the bank's activity, a trader can do only the trader's activity. So written about 5,000 codes behind for each of the roles that is made. So that's one of the key things, because we have two types of keys within DLT. One is the authentication key, which determines the access. And then we have an authorization key, which determines what task or an activity can be performed. So then with the details, you can enable. So once the products have been shipped, documented, you can enable an auto payment here. See, this is the different banks that you could be using. And if I click on one of the banks, we are partners with DBS. So if for example, this is within your current network of banks that you deal with, that will be figured here. So for example, if it's an accounts payable or an accounts receivables, then you can, because it's receivables, you can make a request here, and you can fill up the form, and all the different invoice documents, transport documents, all the files can be attached here, and the same can be sent now we can see that the commercial invoice has been blockchained. I had done it earlier, so this is how the 32 character crypto, which was mentioned, has been already generated here, and this has been now consented, and this document can be directly sent via API to the banking channel. Yeah.
हाँ बोलिए.
Now to give you a view on the digital file cabinet, which is a secure vault, consider it as a secure vault where the bank secure vault where you keep all the respective documents of a trade. So as I mentioned, there's a single contract and the respective documents have been placed in different folders like your file cabinet, and those documents are seen over here.
Okay.
You have a commercial invoice here. Now, so I'm just taking one of the documents. Say, for example, this is a packing list. Now, this has been uploaded by the respective, logistics company, for example, and now it is generating. They are generating a fingerprint on that, which is basically saying that this is a packing list. So I put it in that folder. So now we have created the 32 character crypto, which is a unique ID that is created for this document. Now the trader company is a supplier and the buyer company is a buyer, and they have been asked to consent on this. This is a dynamic consensus. Now the request fingerprint has been uploaded with a date and time stamp. So there is the trading company has uploaded the document. Once the logistics has handed over that document to them, now as you can see, now it is requesting a buyer or a supplier to consent. So here what we could do is, now we have to here confirm the product is shipped. So for that, I have to go there, okay, to do comment, and I say that the product is shipped, and I submit it. It is asking me the date, so I just put the date, and I can just submit this. So I have successfully submitted the document. That was my to-do list. What was pending from my side. Now I go back, and now I know that the document has been. Now it is asking me to do a consensus. So its consensus is being asked here. So I just go there, and it's a packing list that was requiring a consensus. So I can see the packing list here. And now as a trader company, when I go in, it asks me what is my credentials. So I have to again type in my credential. And then I have to look at this, and then as a trader, I put a digital signature. So as you can see, it has created a date and timestamp and when the document was created. Now I'm consenting to this. And now another date and timestamp has been created by my approval in completing the blockchain operation. Now when I go back, so in the same, you can see, sorry, I can't go back, so. Okay, there's one more consensus that is pending on the document. So this document, yes, a commercial invoice that needs to be consented. As the trading company, I go there. Just 1, 2, 3. It's been verified by Viacom. Now I log out and go there as buyer. This is the same cotton trade that we just saw. And I've been now as a buyer, I am going in. I was a seller in the earlier login. So this is the credential of a buyer. So I go in and I see the same document. Same document has been is there. I can now it's requesting me to. So here I log in with my credential. And then again, it is asking me to, so as a buyer, now I consent to this document and I put my digital signature. The same hash is created. It has a date and a timestamp, which is an audit log that we have been talking about. Meanwhile, at the same time, you're getting a notification alert for each person who is participant to that transaction on what are the actions that has been completed. Now, if I go back to the operations, and now I log out as and log in as trader. You can see that I can now what I could do is I can track this contract. Now we have seen that we have created the contract. This is a real-time tracking on each of the activity in fulfillment of this contract. Each person's who has logged in and the details of each activity that has been done in terms of the task is clearly mentioned here. So you can see for more detail, if I click here, so the create contract is over, the contract acceptance. So if who created the contract, I have the full date and time stamp here. Here you can see the contract acceptance, who did it and what was the time at which, and it was okay to go. So it gives you an entire tracking. And as you can see here, we have put the entire audit trail on blockchain. And we were mentioning about these are basically the key functions that helps you to digitize your trade with internal and external participants. I just for a quick demo, I have showed you how a buyer and a seller can do the transaction and get it consented dynamically. At the same time, you can bring in other counterparties of the trade, be it a logistics company, be it the bank, to come and view. We have seen that most banks are keen to know what is the accessibility that they can get into, or visibility they can get into the transaction. So whatever is permission by a large enterprise, a corporate, or a major trading house is given with a high levels of visibility to the bank, which ensures that their ratings within the bank as well as their limits within the banks are enhanced because of new levels of visibility and a new level of accountability that is coming out of blockchain platform. So that brings me to the end of this presentation or demo. There is the one which I mentioned to you was a SmartFin, which is a marketplace, just to add to that. So here, basically, if you take one of those trades, I can send that request to, now I need a funding for this, I can send it to any of the banks, multiple banks, which I have, and I can just send the request to them using the platform. And I will get an answer, reply from for the funding request of this particular contract. So that's basically the SmartFin module, which is a marketplace wherein we have a self-managed system where I can, as a large enterprise, and I can create my RMs, I can create my KYC, I can add my, it's like a credit score mechanism which gives you both the the performance scoring in addition to the credit scoring that is generated by most of the banks. And similar thing in terms of business partner creation, access management is permissible for the SmartFin module. That is an additional feature on DLT Ledgers platform. So that brings me to the end of this demo. There are multiple other features like, we are BL validations, the invoice validations. These are one of the modules. BL Crypt, digital BL is additional one. And we are like, creating a ecosystem, a network on the supplier as well as well as on their on the demand chain side. So that brings me to the end of this demo. I can take questions on this. I will stop sharing. And let me get back to my presentation just to take you through a few of the slides. Can we run the slides, Manoj? Can we get to the last few slides? Yeah, so in terms of the relevance to enterprises, I just want to highlight 5 key factors. One is the process digitization, which is a 20% improvement, what we have seen in process efficiency improvement. We have seen faster turnaround times, saving about 20 to 25 days per transaction because of digital verification of documents and digital submissions. The risk mitigation in terms of fraud detection has been estimated to be about 25%, but it has been enhanced using some validation modules, which we are creating at present. The work is in progress. As I was mentioning, there is increased transparency. We are getting 60% more visibility in the trade flows for the market participants. A sector-wide collaboration is happening because you are creating your own private networks, and at the application layer, you are able to do interoperability because whatever be the fabric or the blockchain layer, you are able to interact and make it interoperable at the application layer. To look at the benefits that you could derive from using DLT Ledgers or any blockchain-based solution, we could, actually put them into 2 bigger buckets, especially with the COVID times, and everybody is looking at cost and cash management as one of the key key aspects of managing finance. We are putting them into 2 different baskets. One is the reduction in cost, and the other is the operational efficiencies. If you actually look at it in a short term, because of a quick deployment and getting the limited minimum viable participants who are digitally ready to get onto the platform and do the transaction, we would see that there is a decline in the post-trade execution timeline from weeks to days, and going forward in the long term, it will be like a few hours. We reduce a lot of human errors, document-related risk. Now, as I mentioned, there's a secure repository as a secure vault of all the transactions documents, which is now secured, and it is permissioned access to the different folders based on the access that you give to each of the participants. You have a reconciliation module which we have, where we do the PO, SO, DO reconciliation, which is linked through the BC link or the API call. We are able to support the entire network. So the solution that we have created basically is a solution that benefits all parties in the network, and it is achieved through the business blockchain framework, which I just explained to you and showcased to you. Now, as you can see, because it's blockchain and it connects across the business partners, and it is without moving the data, it is under a shared ledger concept. and which provides real-time visibility. So here, what you could see is, a reduced trade operations cost because of the levels of digitization and, for digital submissions and acceptance of digital signatures. All that could reduce the operations cost further by 5 to 10%. So that's across the parties. We are able to create the tamper-proof immutable records. And then we are also able to do a track and trace with full audit trail, which is on blockchain. The long term, it's a sector-wide collaboration which is bringing business agility. As I mentioned, a number of days is further reduced. To give you example or an illustration on the reduction in cost, you could find that when you move to a paperless kind of environment, it itself is reducing cost by about 5 to 10%. When you are moving away from the physical submissions into a digital submission, it eliminates cost governing the physical submission. So it's another 10% that you could get. In terms of efficiency, the cycle time reduction itself is bringing about from 10 days. It could be like, initially what we've seen is about 6 days is saved. So you're able to execute the whole transaction in 4 days. So that was a case with one of the companies which is based out of UAE. We could further reduce it into a few hours, the long-term, gain. Where imagine even a 5% interest paid on a say US dollar 1.5 million transaction as an average ticket size. It saves an interest that is on it for about 1,250 per transaction. So if a company is engaged in about 25 transactions a month, the monthly savings will come to about $31,250 by just the cycle time reduction, which is possible using the platform. So annualizing, it will be about 31,250 into 12 should be around 375,000 US dollars. So that's one of the benefits which is quantifiable and could be easily realizable by any large enterprise. Look at how you can reduce the FTE because in most of the documentation exercises, there is a lot of full-time employees who are deployed, and as a cost reduction exercise especially during these times, you could have an effective saving of, if an average, in Singapore it's about $5,000 is the average salary, where if the cost has to be it's a cost to company, the CTC, and if you reduce it, it is an effective saving of about $60,000 annual. And at the same time, you're gaining process efficiency, which is adding to the improved margins. So that is precisely if you look at the two buckets of cost reduction and operational efficiencies, and in terms of real quantitative savings and qualitative aspect of it, the technology is readily usable, and that's what we wanted to demonstrate to you today. It precisely is this. Blockchain technology has multiple uses, but we have actually zeroed in and on the enterprise private permissioned use of harnessing of this technology, and there is multiple benefits that or areas that can be open to transformation using blockchain technology, especially when you want to create a network, both on the demand chain side or the supply side, and even for internal efficiencies, speaking with the external parties and core business systems being integrated into a single unified source. So that exactly is the benefit, and we are exploring more opportunities. And we are seeing that things will evolve as it is a journey. As I reiterated again, it's basically a minimum viable participants that you initially require to get onto this platform and run a pilot on the platform to experience it. And we are offering at this time a free pilot to all the large enterprises and the corporates and the small and the medium to come and have a touch and feel of what this technology can offer to you. Our platforms can be accessible on our website. There is a free pilot registration which is available, and I think we will be sharing this as a reading material going forward. And then you can access our website, and you can sign up for a free pilot and have a first-hand experience of how this technology is intuitive, easy to use, and quickly deployable. Most of our fields are annotated so that you are able to understand how to navigate through each of the fields and execute the transaction. What I have shown you is a demo environment. When you come to a production landscape, it will be a totally different user experience, and we welcome you for that. And thank you for your patient listening. We are ready to take any questions. Feel free to put it in the chat, and we will take their questions.
Thank you so much, Josh. So I'll read some of the questions which we received so far. So the first question was from Mr. Elango Chandran. His questions are as under: what will happen if there is no internet? What will happen to process which works on blockchain? What's the fallback arrangement?
I will take this question. So, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so in my previous assignment, as I mentioned, I worked with a company on a IoT platform. So this was a question when we talked about blockchain. So many companies are trying different ways to connect other than the internet, to use Bluetooth or to use, as it is a decentralized node sitting on each device. Many of them are doing POCs on this aspect and taken care. It will be coming out soon, the solution.
Okay. The next question is: who keeps the track of the value and the ID of the transaction? How it is authenticated? From which central database?
Jose, hello?
Mr. Josh, I think you are muted.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So can I hear the question once more?
Yeah. So the question is: who keeps the track of the value and the identification of the transaction? How the transaction is authenticated, and from which central database?
So as we mentioned, this is a network, nodal network. So there is no central database here. So this is like virtual machines which are within Microsoft Azure. It is hosted in Microsoft Azure, and it's a cloud solution. And each person will be having a node. So each participant in that network. So as I mentioned earlier, the atomic unit of that transaction is the contract, and who or a transaction. That transaction participants as invited by the subscribed member. So if a large enterprise is subscribing to the platform, then he or she is on node, and that their node speaks to the other node who are participants to that transaction. So only those counterparties who are for that transaction will be involved. So what we are doing is you are creating your own private permission network, and that is controlled by the person who is subscribing. It happens on his node, and that node is connected to his respective business partners, which as I showed in the demo, they are creating their own private network of their business partners. That business partner is a bank, the business partner is a logistics company or an insurance company, and they are given permissioned access, folder access, as well as access to use the platform. So each person, for example, if I want my respective bank to come and do a task or see my documents, I will give them permission. and then they will come and view the documents for that transaction, and the task is performed. So that's how it is done. And as I was mentioning, this is a blockchain nodal network, which is private in permission. It has two authentication keys. One is two keys. One is the authentication key, and the other one is the authorization key. So that is managed by DLT Ledgers as an independent party running the platform, but on behalf of the large enterprise or the banks or the major trading house, whoever is running the platform. So authentication key is the one which determines the access to the platforms, and the authorization keys are what what task or what activity has to be performed. That is controlled by the authorization key. The key is unique, and it is managed currently by us. We are managing it on the platform.
Thank you, Jose. The next question is regarding the smart contract. So the question goes like this: being smart, the contract is standard. How can this be customized? As each scope of work at its criteria schedule changes. So the question, in short, is how to amend the smart contracts. Is there any mechanism around it?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Basically, what we are meaning by smart contract is the contract that forms the basic business logic that governs that specific transaction. So if you look at a large enterprise or a trading house, their contracts are almost all predetermined with a predetermined set of customers, predetermined set of suppliers and their ecosystem partners. So that's why we are creating the control trigger table, which I was showcasing earlier, which gives you, for each company, that template is very important. You have to templatize their contract details. So as I was showing, you can create your own any number of trigger tables. You're open to do that. It's a very easy process. As I was showing the demo, you wouldn't, if you have noticed, there is a place called create new trigger. So which means you can create your own based on what your contract actually says. And then you can create any number of contract trigger tables and save it in your landscape or on your production landscape. And you can recall it for doing the smart contract. Or each time you want to do it, you can create a new one. And if it's a new one, you can do it and bring the business partners accordingly. So it's a very simple, flexible system. We have not made it as a rigid system. So in DLT Ledgers, it's fairly flexible. It's just a activity which you can assign to any of the trade operations team member, and they can execute it. Do I answer that?
Thank you, Joe. Yeah. So the next question is from Mr. Chandrasekhar Iyer, CFO ST Group. So his question is: what are the legal obligations, governance, settling of disputes? Which global authority is the one which controls this?
Okay. So again, as we were mentioning, the full platform is being hosted on Microsoft Azure, and we are partners to Microsoft. We are partners to SAP. We are partner to all the major software companies. So since it is hosted in Microsoft Azure, all that governance layer, which is subject to Microsoft Azure, is applicable here. And it is hosted within the UAE. If it is UAE, if it is a Singapore-based company, it will be hosted within UAE. If it is any other jurisdiction, we can host this solution on Microsoft Azure within the operating jurisdictions. And we are taking a letter of indemnification on the platform to ensure that the digital submissions are actually genuine and there is accountability. So as Manoj was rightly mentioning, and as he just touched upon it, but it's a network effect basically. If you look at it, if you have bad neighbor who is shouting every day, then in a colony, then you as an association will decide that this guy should not be our neighbor. So as a nodal network, if somebody is becoming bad, then you have every right as a network member to get the consensus and ask that person to be eliminated from the network. So that's precisely how it works, because it's a network and which is self-managed. It's a network effect that comes out of blockchain, because nobody can tamper with it, because everybody gets a replicated copy based on the permission access onto the folders. And all these documents are legally valid. We have the law of Singapore and the law of England, which governs the international trade transactions. It is subject to the laws. All the transactions are legally valid, and we also have the digital BL, which is recognized by the P&I Club, which is covering all the digital transactions, and if the banks are ready to accept the EUCP, the Uniform Custom Practices, we will be subject to that as well. And our platform is compliant to the UNICITRAL, the model laws of the United Nations, and it is compliant to the EUCP norms. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. So have you come across any such disputes, and how these disputes are settled?
Yes. So it is as you know, that currently we haven't faced any disputes. We have been touched wood. There has not been any disputes that has come up so far in the last 3 years. However, we are definitely being covered from through the laws of Singapore and laws of England for this. What was the second part of the question? What was the second part?
So how these disputes are settled?
Yeah, if at all it comes, it will be subject to the laws of Singapore as well as the law of England, because all merchant trade is governed by the law of England, English laws.
Okay. So is this governed by the International Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, it has. Yes, it is governed by the International Chamber of Commerce. Yes, that's basically precisely what links with the different Electronic Transaction Act, which is being enacted by the different jurisdictions. About 26 countries are coming up with that. It might be a bill in the parliament which has to be executed. Singapore, I think, will be in the next quarter. Other countries are also, looking at it. About 26 of them are looking at it.
Okay. So next question is, we have certain large, entities. Their attendees are also attending it.
Yeah.
So the question that might come from them is, although I can't see, but often whenever we discuss, the question that we normally get is, if their processes are already automated, suppose order to cash or procurement to pay, then what is the benefit which blockchain can bring onto the table? Why should they invest in a additional kind of a technology when they already have a automated internal process?
Great question. See, that's exactly, you have a vendor management system, you have, portal which governs. Even the banks have their own portals, but they are coming in for a secure channel, because here, see, if you have your own database and whoever owns it can tamper with that, they can change the data. But in a distributed ledger concept, whatever is created by the respective parties, it's getting replicated as a copy, as your shared ledger. So nobody can, tamper with that. So if somebody tampers, then it becomes void. So without the consensus of the participants, nothing can be done once everything has been agreed upon. So that's the highest level of security. Even after years of years passing by, the tamper-proof nature of our transaction document is significant, and that's why people are moving out of their own portal or vendor management systems and moving to a shared ledger concept, because that gives them a wider and a broader view about how the future is going to be, when there is interoperability, and everyone wants to secure their side of their, of the transaction, and ensure that nobody has paid with their system or the data that is available. So the future is the data, and we can't have a vulnerable system. That's what in the introduction we were mentioning, that it has reached a stage where data is the most valuable resource, and you don't want to want vulnerability into that. So that's where blockchain as a technology really stands out. And if you actually look at it, even though you have all your internal systems in place, it is just having a network of your external parties able to see the document. It actually takes a lot of your headache off, because it creates a unified network where even it comes to a stage where an auditor wants to see what are the transactions. You have to create a business partner as auditor and give him the access to the respective platform, and you can see the entire picture of the transaction. So it kinds of, if you look at the scope of what it could do, it's much beyond what we are discussing now.
Okay, makes sense. Presentation on blockchain, and how come there is no question on cryptocurrency? So there is one question on cryptocurrency by Mr. Himanshu Shah. Is there risk like cryptocurrency theft happened on blockchain platform? If yes, which authority will compensate it?
Yeah.
So we are coming from a public. This is from a public blockchain point of view, but we are working with bigger. Let's put it two different things here. One is a public blockchain, and the other one is a private blockchain. We are an enterprise grade private blockchain. When you look at public blockchains, it is actually some of the things to highlight how public blockchains are becoming acceptable, becoming tokenized and stuff like that. But when the government is into this, it makes a lot of sense. For example, we are doing the digital provenance for a bigger mining company based out of this region, and what we have seen is when say, for example, the US Customs wants to know that there is an FTA that is involved, and the origination of the say aluminum which comes out of Australia, the provenance has to be clarified. The hash can be verified with something what Singapore government has called the trade trust network. So in the trade trust network, it's a public blockchain. It's created on Ethereum public blockchain. The beauty of it is that the hash is created at the domain level. So, for example, if a country of origin certificate, to put it in layman's term, if a country of origin certificate is created, it comes from this hash shows that the configuration comes from the domain level or DSN level, which means that it shows that COO had been issued out of government.sg. It from the domain level, they can verify and produce a hash, which could be put into a public blockchain for verification purposes. So that's the level of security and authenticity that could come out of a public blockchain. But at the same time, when you talk about Bitcoin, which is centralized kind of, when you get into a decentralized kind of public blockchain, it's fairly difficult because it is the network that creates the effect. So I'm no expert on Bitcoins, but I could speak about the enterprise.
Josh, I can take this. Yeah, I can answer. I can take this question about crypto to add on what you said. So, Himanshu, if you check out UAE ADGM, Abu Dhabi Global Market has a framework for crypto asset regulatory framework, which was announced in 2018, right? So, if the cryptocurrencies are whichever you are investing is part of that regulatory framework, you can go and check it on their website and follow them. So UAE is one of the few countries which has adopted this crypto asset regulatory framework. So you can check it out on adgm.com. That is Abu Dhabi Global Market. So hope this answers your question.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you, Jose. Before I request our Vice Chairman to convey vote of thanks, I'll ask the last question, which is coming from Mr. Mahesh Kulur. His question is, his question is follow-up of our last discussion. Extending the earlier point of two ledgers, own portal and shared ledger, is this not threat to conventional accounting software companies?
No, not at all. We are complementing. We are not doing anything in terms of touching the CRM system. Why do you want to reinvent the wheel? Blockchain is an expensive technology. Why would we make it limited to internal accounting software? We will not do that. If if you want to, in most companies there is an accounting software, there is a contract management software, there is an ERP system. All that is fine, but we are only using a blockchain link, which is a BC link, which is the connector or the integration layer to bring that to execute a transaction. And that data, once it is being executed, we can bring it back into the ERP, which could be your storage. So you want a single repository, it could be a ERP system, or you want to store it in the blockchain, you can decide. And then, we don't touch the internal systems. We are just connecting on through an API, push and pull the data for executing a transaction. So that's precisely why the platform is used to connect with the external parties of a trade transaction, ensuring that that is done with optimized process, reduced cycle time, reduced cost. So effectively what we are trying to do is help you with an efficiency, a full efficiency in a transaction. Your internal systems help you with internal efficiencies. Now this is a platform which helps you with the external efficiencies. Now put together, you derive the full efficiency in a transaction. So, you imagine one part or one leg is fully digitized and the other is just manual, heavy, paper-driven process. Then the value that you are deriving is less compared to when you have both sides digitized to the maximum extent possible. And as I earlier mentioned, it's about digital readiness in the external participants. If there is only a few of them there who are digitally ready, then what we achieve is maybe only 80% of efficiency. But going forward, look at it as preparatory investment so that into the future, the way to the future is that you want a fully digitized, end-to-end digitized transaction, where you look at the banks, you look at the regulators, the government bodies, the ports, all of them are all looking at a digital transformation. So transformation is everywhere, and everyone is looking at it. And especially situations like COVID, a pandemic, which is totally unprecedented and cannot be predicted. You really want, efficiencies when people are working from home, and you can't stop the trade, you can't stop the activity, the transaction has to go on. So you are looking at digital submissions, you're looking at ensuring that when you do that, it is secure and foolproof. Yes, then you need an external connecting platform which can speak without any human intervention to our internal systems. So we are not, trying to replace any internal systems. We are complementing those systems.
Thank you, Jose.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Manoj. May I request our Vice Chairman, CA Pramod Kumar Chan, to convey vote of thanks. Sir, you are on mute. You have to turn on your audio as well.
Can you listen me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So good evening, everyone, and Honorable Chairman of our chapter, Mr. Manu Mehra, and our valued invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of the Russell Khaimah chapter of the Institute, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the speaker for gracing the occasion and sharing with us their knowledge on blockchain private permissioned network and its use. I consider blockchain to be a flag bearer for fourth industrial revolution and expect many enterprises embrace it in the times to come that will bring efficiency as well as transparency. Thank you, Mr. Matthew and Mr. Manoj, for enlightening us on this subject. I would also like to thank our sponsors, namely Commercial Bank of Dubai, Rack Ceramics, Utico, Lulu, Deloitte, Kristen Mannon, and Bank of Baroda. Finally, I wish you and your loved ones a healthy and safety. And we normally end up with some tea, coffee, and snacks. But I'm sorry, we are not in a position to offer you. But maybe the time will change and we will have it soon. Thank you.
We can have a digital coffee session sort of.
Yes, blockchain, coffee on blockchain.
Coffee on blockchain.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for attending this session.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.